Hi, thanks everyone for joining our webcast today. I'm Jeff Spencer, Senior Project Specialist for Microsoft, working with our healthcare customers across the U.S., helping you to understand the value of the investments that you've made in our project and work management solutions. Co-presenting with me today is John Michael Scott, the CEO of our project partner, greendata.io. Every day I talk with major healthcare companies including payers, providers, and biotechs. I've identified many common challenges across these companies. The current worldwide emergency has added even more urgency to many of these problems. Broadly, we will talk about two of these areas today. First, managing resources is always a challenge. Today we see that many people must work from home, and those essential people that must physically go to work have more to do, often with less help. John Michael will show us how a Power Up platform can help the healthcare customers create custom-focused solutions quickly and easily. Then we will show you one of his company's created products to enhance resource management. Next, when executing strategy, how do you keep focus on the present while not ignoring the future? The best way to maintain control of your strategy and guide execution is with timely data in a format that's easy for everyone to understand. I'll be showing some creative business intelligence solutions from our analytics partner, Stratata. Their products can help you better understand your current status and even help you predict the future with AI within Power BI. The Power Platform is built on the Common Data Service. The Common Data Service gives us a single repository for all of our mission-critical data. Along with the Power Platform applications, that gives us the ability to act, analyze, automate, and learn about what's going on inside of our enterprise. Now let's drill into each one a little deeper. Power BI is a business analytics solution that lets you visualize your data and share insights across your organization. It provides that single source of the truth needed for timely, accurate decision making. Connect to hundreds of data sources and bring your data to life with live dashboards and reports. Power Apps is a software to build custom business applications without the knowledge of application development or custom coding. It's low code or no code custom apps. Power Automate is a service that helps you create automated workflows between your favorite apps and services to synchronize files, get notifications, collect data, and more.
Hi, it's great to speak with you all today. I'm John Michael, the founder of a company named greendata.io. Who is greendata.io, you ask? We are a project and work management partner with deep experience in Project for the Web, Project Online, Dynamics 365, Power Platform, and moreover, integrating across enterprise work management platforms, including ServiceNow, Jira, and others. So what does that have to do with this moment right now? Well, I'm here to share with you a new approach to solving a challenging problem out there. How do I do resource demand forecasting without spreadsheets? Why, you ask? So that we can get a grip on not just what we are working on right now, but also what our demand is looking like in the next year or more. But how do we do it? Our answer is low-code. We at Greendata believe that low-code and no-code solutions are the best possible way for you to future-proof your software. So what does low-code and no-code mean? Well, we would have to hop in a time machine back to the 80s to really see where this all started. But the main idea is that we want to put the power into the hands of yourselves, the business users, to build what you need when you need it. There's some history here, but suffice to say, we have literally millions of hours worth of legacy code that needs rebuilding and millions more hours of code we need built to take care of future problems. For example, how are you going to reimagine all the banking systems out there? What is it going to take to really bring all enterprise applications to mobile? The answer is that we could spend lifetimes doing so. So let's jump in and use our imagination to get some things done really quickly instead, and without hundreds or even millions of lines of code to do so. You're starting to get the idea, no? Low code? No code? Okay, let's jump in. Low-code is software created by software developers often limited by the constraints of the platform that they are building upon. No-code, on the other hand, is software built by any business user. We call developers building this way citizen developers because you don't need to be a professional to build useful things. Let's do a quick demo and see what that looks like. So as you see, we've opened up an environment called Power Apps. Microsoft introduced Power Apps just a few years ago, and it is taking the enterprise by storm. Approximately 95% of enterprise businesses in the world right now have made a commitment to building Power Apps in order to make it easier and faster to get their business applications up to speed and also across all devices. As you see here, we can start from data. We can use a series of templates. We also have a few different kinds of apps that we can create, starting from blank. So we could create a Canvas app. That's a pixel perfect app that works on your mobile devices or in your web browser, etc. We can also build a model driven app. This is really more intended to be a web-based experience. On top of that, as you see, there are lots and lots and lots of templates, some that are built on Office, some that are designed to work with other applications. But let's go back to our starting page and we'll just start with something simple. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and create a leave request. Well, what does that look like? Well, apparently I can create a leave request from this template on either a tablet device or on a phone-based device. Okay, well, what's the difference? As you see, there are some differences in the experience and the form factor. They both will connect to Office 365 and Outlook, so we'll be able to interact with this information. So let's just keep it simple here, and I'm going to go ahead and create a tablet-based experience. Very quickly, Power Apps sets up your brand new application. It's getting things ready, and it's making a bunch of connections, and it's going to ask us a few things along the way. And as soon as it wraps up, we should see our application as if we had just developed it. Okay, so we're just getting these couple of questions to make sure that we're using the right users. I'm signed in as myself, so I'll go ahead and allow leave requests to have permission to use my Office 365 account and my Outlook account. Cool. Okay, so you can see the background that the application is getting put together. We can immediately go to a preview to get started. I'm going to go ahead and do that because I want to see what this looks like. As you see, the pointer is showing me that I can go directly to preview the app by clicking on the small triangle. And here we are. So at this point, I can log in as an employee or as a manager to start using my application. Awesome. So I've logged in as myself, and here we see all the vacation time that I have set out to use. I can create a brand new request by just clicking on the plus icon, decide what kind of leave it is, and I'm off to the races. So as you see, even though I've barely started touching the application, I can already do something. I've already got something that's usable. Pretty cool, right? Okay. Well, let's go ahead and go back to talking a little bit more about low code in general and what the process is to get started. Okay, first, in order to start building, we need to figure out what the user needs to do. So we follow a very strong design process focused on initially building clarity, empathy, and understanding the problem that the user is trying to solve. Then we move into building a journey map. We then seek to understand what the user experience is today versus the experience we're trying to achieve. Next, we'll prototype quickly an example similar to what you saw a few moments ago. We move on first through low fidelity mockups, so all the pictures and all the fancy icons may not be there, but this allows us to make sure we're on the right track. Then we get into rapid prototyping, and this is where the magic of low code and no code development really starts to shine. Then we iterate, getting closer and closer to something the user can use to solve their objective. After keeping things really simple, we begin to add on more features to get to a place where the user is happy and they're able to solve their problem. The magic of this is that it happens in weeks, not months or years. Okay, we promised you that we were going to talk about being able to do resource management with a Power App. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. All right, so we're going into the resource management app. At Green Data, we spent a bit of time thinking about what we could do to give you some basic experiences that would look an awful lot like a spreadsheet, but not be a spreadsheet. So right now it's pulling up some data from my environment. And here we see that we have the opportunity to choose a series of different projects. So we can pick any one of these and we can start going into resource planning against that project. Awesome. So here's the 3D printed shoe 2020 project. And as you see, we have time splayed out over 2020, and we can scroll across 2021 for both Carlos Gonzalez, Chris Ogube, and Gina Stracciatella, as well as Privi Chandra. So in general, we've got the information about what we're expecting from Carlos across this next 2 years. Moreover, down right below here, we see there's some other numbers. Well, what does this mean? This is about the current project demand. This is what is being asked of Carlos in 2020. And as you see, it's more than what we see in this set of demand that's directly related to the 3D printed shoe 2020 project. Well, what if I wanted to get a little bit more information? Okay, so we've created this overlay where we can pop over and see not just the current project that we're dealing with, the 3D printed shoe 2020 project, but also we can take a look at the two other projects that Carlos has work to do on. So we have mesh colors. Mesh colors, he's got some potential time assigned out, or he might be assigned out all the way into 2022. And of course, the main project that we're concentrating on extends out to 2021. So we're reflecting on each project on the basis of what their beginning and end are expected to be. Now, we could, of course, just make changes to the 3D printed shoe project here. We've realized that we're going to need a little bit of Carlos's time in June. So let's go ahead and save that in. And that feels good. We're basically done. As soon as it finishes saving our data, we'll go ahead and close our screen. And we should see that our project is now updated with that 0.4 FTE in June of this year. But we also see that across the board, he's due up for about 1.4 FTEs. Okay, well, what else are we figuring out here? Well, the other thing we figured out here is that sometimes we just want to make adjustments on the fly across multiple projects. For instance, 3D printed shoe. Do we really need Carlos for 2 FTEs in January of next year? That seems impossible. Same goes for February. I mean, he's a great guy and he can do almost anything. He's kind of like, lightning swift with coding and does like 30 times the amount of work of any other human being. He's basically, John Henry from, some of those childhood stories that we used to read about, who could, beat out any man and any machine. But in reality, we're thinking we want to keep Carlos happy and not leaving the company. So we're going to knock that down. I'll go ahead and save that information just to update it. And I can also, after that's finished, I can make some adjustments in other places too. So it turns out that it's useful to be able to see total resource demand across multiple projects as a resource manager. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look here. Well, it looks like Carlos is at 2.5 right here in February. Let's knock that down to what he, is in the past. So what he really worked, that was more like 0.6, and here was 0.1. Okay, so as you see, I can actually update all of the different projects that Carlos is working on simultaneously from a single screen. That's pretty cool. What else? Okay, as soon as I've closed up these couple of additional record updates, you may notice at the top of the screen we have these little dots moving back and forth across. I'll go ahead and save the last one. Here are the dots again, showing us that we're updating the record. We'll close it out, and let's go on to capacity analysis. So what's that about? Well, in addition to seeing numbers, sometimes it's useful to be able to see a chart or a graph to make it easy for us to understand what's really going on. So here we can see that we have tapped out Carlos in March of this year. We're going to be placing a pretty big load on his shoulders in April and May, and this is going to reappear out towards the latter part of the year in October, November, and December. And moreover, because we want to know not just what's happening in 2020, but also 2021, we can continue and see more of time scattered out depending on what Carlos has got actually scheduled. So right now we see that across 2020, 2021, and 2022, Carlos has scheduled a fair amount. We're probably going to have to make a few adjustments out at the latter part of the year. He looks okay going into next year though. So that kind of wraps up the things that I wanted to talk to you about a resource management app that actually becomes more of a data tool than all the spreadsheets that we're currently working in order to get this same problem dealt with. So I hope that's interesting to you. Let's go ahead and minimize that, and we'll continue with the final slide for my part of the presentation today, which is just to throw out there, please let us know if there are any questions or anything else you want us to talk about. Thank you so much, and I'll pass it back to Jeff.
And now I'm going to talk about Stratata, a Microsoft Analytics partner that has a focus on work management data. Stratata has a Project Online report pack in the Power BI Partner Showcase. I'll be showing you some of those reports here in just a moment. Stratata also creates custom visuals for Power BI, custom Gantt charts with baselines, milestones, and all types of special formatting. You can even see task board visuals along with timelines with over 40 milestone shapes that I'll show you in just a second. As we move into this portfolio timeline, you can see I've got my portfolio organized by color. So each portfolio has its own color. I might want to look at project health. This is going to allow me to see all my projects organized by the health of the project. So I can see projects that are in good shape, those that are marginal, and those that need attention. I can even organize my projects by the phases. If you have standard phasing, you can see things like planning, analysis, and selection across all of your projects, so you can start to see some of the tailoring that you want to see inside of your projects. Let's move back to the portfolio overview. I'm going to add in the milestones and see what other information we can find out. As I look at this HIPAA compliance project, as I hover over it, I can see information about the project as project notes, and I can see here that the HIPAA team lost a senior manager recently. So it's giving me information directly as I need it online. As I hover over milestones, I can get information about those milestones. And if I want to, I can drill in and get additional detail. So let's go in, drill through, and let's look at the status report for this project. I want to understand what's going on with this particular project. I can see that I've got 2 active risks and 2 active issues. I can see the late tasks for this particular project. I can see baseline and current right here on the screen. I can see tasks with the highest work variance. So I'm getting a deeper view of my project. So if I'm in a position to make informed decisions, I can get in and really understand what's going on with this particular project. We can navigate back to the overview and get additional information as we drill into different types of reports. And now I'm going to go ahead and navigate over to the portfolio timeline with baselines, our third report down here. As we can see, we've got the Care Plus Infrastructure project. As I hover over it, I can see critical information about the project. I can see the baseline start and finish when I'm over the baseline. When I move up, I can see the current start and finish for the actual project. As I look at the Gantt chart itself, I can see all the critical milestones appear, and as I hover over them, it gives me the information about those baselines. So it really gives us that top to bottom view of our projects. So you've got the original portfolio showing you everything color coded, and now I'm drilling in and looking at my projects from another point of view. And now we've selected the top and bottom project for variances. As we look, I can see the top 10 projects that are under running and the top 10 projects that are overrunning for both cost and variance. So if I'm trying to manage my portfolio and I have budget control for the whole portfolio, I can see that the Texas playbook is currently in need of $287,000 of cost. And over here, I've got an underrun of $286,000 on my Care Plus project. So as a portfolio manager, I can start to move money around between projects to go ahead and give myself a balanced portfolio so that when I'm reporting up management, I'm going to be presenting the business case that I want to present, where I've got everything in balance for cost, schedule, and work. Let's go ahead and start to look at some trend reports as well. When we look at our trend reports, one of the other key things that Strata does is allow you to take snapshots of your data. And why snapshots are important is it gives you that historical view of all of your project information, and we can compare this information over time. And a project status report is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. As I look at this week's status report for the e-commerce project, I can see the health is currently showing marginal, and it's trending up from last week. Schedule is green with an upward trend. Cost is marginal with an upward trend. I can see how issues, risks, and so on have changed over time. I can see my issues this week and risks. I can see what those look like, as well as text from my project managers. What were last week's accomplishments and what's coming up for next week? And I can also see information about the major phases of the project. That's all interesting, but it becomes much more pertinent when we put it into context for where we were last week. And by capturing snapshots, we can simply navigate to last week and see what we were told and how these trends are changing. So as I go backwards in time, I have that ability to put things in context of what those changes look like. Let's go back and look at a broader view of our portfolio and historical comparisons. Under historical comparisons, I can look at the entire portfolio. I can see how my costs and work have changed over time, as well as durations. But as I look at each individual project, I can get a sense for what the past health was and what the current health is for my projects. I can compare past cost and current cost. So I can see that the last time I measured this, the cost was $1,850, and it's gone up to $2,300. I can see my cost on this project has gone up over time. I can only do this by comparing snapshots of our projects. If I come up to the top, I can change what the ranges I'm comparing to as well. So I can get a sense for how costs are changing on my projects from time period to time period. The next one I want to focus on is the portfolio trend dashboard. This dashboard allows us to focus on entire portfolios or narrow down to an individual project. And in this case, I've narrowed down to an individual project. I'm looking at the application development portfolio, and I'm looking at this individual project. And what Strata gives us the ability to do with its timeline intelligence is actually forecast based on AI. So I can see in this case how cost has changed. And here we've come up to today's date. And what the cone is showing us is what is likely to occur from an upper bound and a lower bound based on a statistical AI forecast. And you can look at cost, you can look at cost variance, remaining work, you can look at all the key elements of your projects that you want to analyze to understand what's potentially going to happen. So when your boss comes to you and says, what's our likely cost for this portfolio or for this individual project, you'll be able to look at your past performance because we've been snapshotting those every week, and we can be able to use that and forecast what's likely to happen in the future. I want to thank you for joining us today. We value your time and would very much like to hear any feedback you have. Contact myself or our partners, Green Data and Strata, for more information. We will have links to the recording as well as the presentation available on the Strata event page. Thank you.